All right, now that we have our definition and conversions, we'll just go over some straight translations. I know this is really silly, and the only reason it's there is because it's about the only comic I could find that really was applicable. So anyway, it's probably not funny, but just bear with me. So this boss says, I need you to start giving me 110%. And the employee says, no problem, I've worked 44-hour work weeks before. What does that mean? How did he come up with the number 44? Well, here's our model. We're going to have blank is blank percent of blank. So the assumption given this is that 44 hours is 110% of a 40-hour work week. So let's see how that works. Percent of means multiply, and is means equals. So we'd have 44 is, that's 44 equals 110%. Every single time we use a percentage in an equation, we need to convert it to its decimal or fractional form. But we're always, well, every single time I use it, I'll use the decimal form. It's just easier. So 110%. Remember from the first part of Lecture 7, 110%. If I take off the percent sign, that means I take off the percent sign. Percent means divide by 100. Dividing by 100 makes the number smaller, so I take that decimal point and move it 2 places to the left. So 110% becomes 1.10, or just 1.1. And percent of means multiply, so I'm multiplying that by 40. And 44 actually is equal to 1.1 times 40. So again, just note that you have to use the decimal or the fractional form of the percent in mathematical calculations. So let's look at these and we'll just translate. 338 is, that's 338 equals, what percent, that means it's my variable, of 520. Percent of means multiply. So that says 338 equals x times 520. Okay, if I divide both sides by 520, I get x equals 0.65. So it says 338 is what percent of 520? 0.65. I want 0.65 in percentage form, so I'd multiply it by 100%, and I'd get 65%. Okay, next problem. What is, what? That becomes my variable. So I have x equals 9.5%. Now, if I'm going to use the percentage in a math equation, I need to change it to its decimal form. So that would be x is 0.095. If I take off the percent sign, percent means divide by 100, so I need make the number smaller. I take the decimal point and move it 2 places to the left because I'm dividing by 100. X, what is x equals 9.5%, 0.095, and then percent of means multiply, so multiply to 616. Multiply those numbers and I get x equals 58.52, so my answer is 58.52. Okay, what percent of 800? What percent, that means that's my variable, what percent of, percent of means multiply, so it's x times 800 is, that's equals 576. To solve for x, I divide both sides by 800. Now it says what percent? I was looking for a percent, so that 0.72, I want to change it to percentage form. To take a decimal and change it to percentage form, I multiply by 100%. Now, unlike the problem above, the 0.095, I was taking off the percent sign, so I divided by 100. If I'm adding the percent sign, I multiply by 100. Multiply by 100%. So I get 72%. 594, now I want you to pause the slides and do these next ones on your own. Okay, now that you've got them done, 594 is, that's 594 equals 45%. I have to change it to a decimal, so it's 0.45. Percent of means multiply. What number means a variable. So I have 594 is equals 45%, 0.45. Of what number? Times x. Divide both sides by 0.45 and I get 1320. I was just looking for a number, So 1320 is my number. 12.5% of what number is 2.75? Change 12.5% into a decimal, 0.125. Percent means divide by 100. Dividing by 100 makes the number smaller, so I move my decimal point 2 places to the left. Percent of means multiply, so the x is being multiplied by 0.125 equals 2.75. Divide by 0.125, so I get x equals 22, and my answer is 22. What is x equals 0.07%? Now be careful on this, 0.07%. Don't write down 7. Look at which way that decimal point moves. I'm taking off a percent sign. Percent means divide by 100, so I divide by 100. I make that number smaller. That becomes 0.0007 times 150, which gives me 0.015. Now, am I going to move the decimal point on this? No, I'm not, because I'm just looking for a number. That 0.105 is just the number I was looking for. So when are the last two columns equal and when are they not? For the first one, I had 0.65 and I changed it to 65%. For the next one, I had 58.52 and I left it alone. For the third, I had 0.72 and I changed it to 72%. For the next, I had 1320 and I left it as 1320. Then I had x equals 22, I left it as 22. And finally, I had 0.105 and I didn't change it to 10.5%. I left it as 0.105. So when do I change it and when do I not? When I'm looking for a number, it doesn't change. But when the thing I was looking for was a percent, then I do need to change it. So pay attention to what you're looking for. Are you looking for a number or are you looking for a percent? Okay, that gives us our translations. Now we will go on to some applications.